Hi everyone, I'm Vone Kevitz, knit and crochet designer for one-of-a-kind makers who dare to be original. So I have someone super special today, and her name is Mandie Robertson from Ginger Snap Handmade. Hi Mandie.
Hello, thanks for having me on.
Thank you for saying yes to this interview. Tell people who you are and what
So
you
I'm
do.
Mandy. I crochet and knit. I started my own little side business, probably, what year is it, 2019? Probably in 2014, but didn't really put a lot of effort into it until recently. So I've just had a little side. It's not my full-time thing. It's just a part-time. I've turned it into a business. Started off as just a passion for creating and making. And so I do that. I also have a full-time gig outside of knitting and crochet. I'm a mom of two. I live in Ottawa, Ontario in Canada. So that's a little bit about me.
I know a lot of people from Canada. I have a lot of
Yeah,
Canadian friends through
yeah,
the
yeah.
through the Dare to Be Original Facebook group.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's cold up here, so we got to knit and crochet a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly, and I'm in Northeast PA, so it gets cold here too. So that's why I've learned to pick up knit and crochet as well. Um,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So you've had an Etsy shop for 5 years. You're about the same time as me. I think
Yeah, okay. Yeah, about that. Yeah, yeah.
I'm approaching 5 years too, and actually I might be 5 years. This is the fifth year that starting in January was probably the fifth year that I've been
Awesome.
doing this. So do you like Etsy?
I do. And I think what everyone says about it is true, that when you start, you have to really practice your patience
Mhm.
because, you create your Etsy shop and then you're just sitting there waiting, waiting for the first sale. But it does take time for it to, I
Mhm.
think, to get traction and to see the sales on a
Mhm.
consistent basis. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I do like Etsy, but you do have to be a little patient with it at times, I think.
Yes, yes, and that's the thing. It's funny when we're first new and we start and we put our first live. Remember that first live, and all of a sudden you think like you're gonna go live, and like this whole thing barrage is gonna come at you,
Yeah,
and you've
yeah.
been afraid of this moment to be exposed, and then all of a sudden it's like crickets. So
Yeah.
years ago, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go live, and I'm like, and they're like terrified. I'm like, don't be scared of crickets, because that's what's coming your way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
you
Yeah.
know and then slowly but surely it takes, what I mean, it takes times, and it's a business. Like any business, it's like ebbs and flows, but it is
Absolutely.
what you put in.
Yeah,
You
for
put
sure.
in is what you get out. You put in a lot, you get out a lot. You put in a little, you're going to get very little.
It's so
And
true.
that's like anything in life, you know what I mean? It's like, the saying, you reap what you sow. So you have
Yeah.
to sow a lot, and then you have to wait
Yeah, you do. You do. It's true.
and nurture it and keep, what I mean, tilling the soil about it. And then once it grows, like the blossom and the harvesting is fantastic. But people just think about harvesting, and they never think about the sowing and preparing the soil. They never think about all that,
Yeah.
and the wait
No,
time.
it's true.
But that's awesome. I love your Etsy shop too. It's really beautiful. If you
Oh,
guys,
thank you.
um, Mandy's descriptions are in the description below, so all of her links are below. So definitely go check out her Etsy shop. So, how did you get your creative journey started? How did it
So
start?
it all started actually from a friend of mine. She had come to visit me. She lives in Calgary, and she'd come to visit me, and she had brought something that she had made. She had crocheted it, and she showed me, and I couldn't believe that she had made this. I was just amazed. And so I asked her, how did you do this? And she said, oh, I learned on YouTube, and showed me some videos of like how to learn how to make things. And so
Mhm.
I was just all in. I was like, I can't believe you made a hat that you could wear. So I started looking on YouTube. And then as I started doing it, I felt like all these memories came back, and I talked to my mom, and actually I did know how to crochet and knit when I was a kid, but
Yeah.
I must have just forgotten everything. So it did come sort of more naturally, I think, because my child self had a little bit of memories of doing it.
Right.
Started off as just being, having fun, playing around, but then as I did more and kind of had this growing stack of things that I had made. It's like, okay, well, what am I going to do with all this stuff? So I tested the waters of kind of selling, doing some smaller markets here and there. I didn't start an Etsy shop right away, but just kind of did some local sales, and then it just kind of kept growing and growing from there. And yeah, so it wasn't really an intentional thing from the beginning, like I'm going to be making and I'm going to turn it into a business. It just sort of naturally evolved as I got going.
How many years ago was that when your friend showed it to you? So for how many years have you been knitting and crocheting?
I think that was probably maybe 6 years ago, maybe more.
Like about a year or two before you started your Etsy shop. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do it right away. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
I first had to learn Etsy all, the ins and
outs of it. I did the same thing. I'm like, well, I picked up crocheting back when I got married. So I had been doing it as a hobby and just stacking up stuff. And then I get rid of some of these. I don't know what to do with everything.
Exactly.
And that's when I started like figuring out like I can sell it online, and and then Etsy popped up and go, ooh, an online shop for handmade sellers. So I was like, so that's how I looked into it and started that same path, but to start to get rid of my inventory.
Right. Yeah. There's so many things you can make for yourself.
So much. Yep. So many things you can make and give, and then you gotta do something else with it. So what is your big why for pursuing a solopreneur lifestyle? So you have 2 businesses. So this is just a side.
Yeah, this is the knitting crochet is a side business, and then I'm also a psychotherapist, so I run my own private practice and do therapy with individuals and couples. So yeah, I have 2 businesses that I run, which kind of works because there's similar skills for both in terms of the business end, obviously. But my why, I like to have the freedom and flexibility to essentially create the life that I want. So I'm able to, with both my businesses, create the flexibility to be home with my kids a couple days a week instead of having them in daycare full time. So that's a huge thing, that I can move my work, whether it's my knitting crochet or my other business, around my schedule so that I have time with my family, which is super important to me. My son just started school this year, so he's not home with me, but my daughter is still home part-time. So that's a big part of it. And then also just the creative outlet. So I would say my full-time work as a private practitioner, I love that work, but the knitting crochet just allows me to be creative, express creativity in a different way.
Yeah.
In a job, right? So it's a chance to let that side of me out and express that. So that's a big part of why I do it as well, because I feel like I'm not a painter, I'm not a sculptor, I don't really call myself artistic, but it is. So it's my creative side that I like to unleash, I guess.
Yeah, you're a creator.
Yeah.
So what is your making process?
So usually I make things that I like. So what I mean by that is sometimes there's trends that come and go, and if I don't like it, I don't know. Even if people are asking me like, oh, please make, I make things that I like. So if it inspires me, because I have to feel inspired to make something, right? Or excited about it or passionate about it. So if it's something that I just don't feel super excited about, it's not going to be a very fun process for me to create it. So I'm always looking for things that spark that, Marie Kondo, spark that joy.
I'm a big Marie Kondo person.
So the things that spark joy, that draw me in, like, oh yes, like that's something I'm excited. I think it's not just the end product that's the goal, it's the whole making. So it's got to be fun and inspiring and motivating to create it, rather than just, okay, well, this is what people want, so I make it even though I don't really like it or it's not bringing me any joy. So that's really my process, is that I'm drawn to things that I like, things that inspire me, colors that inspire me, and then I just go from there. So it's not a super formal process. I know some people have a very different way of doing things, but I just kind of go with my feelings and what draws me in and what inspires me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't like to make things that don't excite me.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah. Isn't that
and
fun?
and I made, because in the beginning when I was first new, I was like, oh, I'll make anything you want me to make. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and
Yeah.
then I quickly learned that I don't like to make everything, and I don't
Yeah.
want to make everything that everybody
Yeah.
wants me to make.
For sure.
So
Absolutely.
I like quickly, like within that first year, I decided I'm not making it anymore. I think I went the first winter, the first Christmas season, I was basically making everything that everybody wanted me to make.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
taking a lot of sales in that way. And then after that, I was just like, it got to be so much that I was like, and then I wasn't enjoying what I was making.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
the next round I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Next year I'm making things that I want to make, and then if you guys want to buy it, you can buy it, and if you don't, then I'll keep it. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed making it and I like it, so I'll keep, you know what I mean? So I had that mentality. It's not the best business mentality.
No, but I
But
think it has to be that
yeah,
because
but as a maker, yeah, you know. I
mhm.
I know a lot of makers that are successful the other way, where they just, to them, they make because they like making, so it doesn't matter what they make, you know what I mean? They just, anybody, like, they love the challenge of that. And to
Right.
me, I found quickly that I'm like, challenge isn't enough for me.
Right. And it's so individual. Yeah. If just
Yeah,
the making itself is what, is brings you joy, then that's what it is for you.
yeah,
But I'm similar to you where I need to really enjoy what I'm making or whatever it is that it needs to inspire me or excite
right,
me.
right. And I love, and don't get me wrong, I love the challenge because I like to learn stitches, so I'm always learning. But then if I don't enjoy it, then the finishing process
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
a no-show. Then I'm like, okay, that's why we have a lot of, that's why I have startitis, where I start a lot. And then, do you have any whips, or are you one of those people that complete your projects?
Oh, I have a basket full of whips. I have a lot.
Yeah.
I had a sweater that took me 3 years to finish. It's kind of a running joke in my sip and stitch group. I did finish it eventually,
Oh,
but
you finished it. That's amazing.
it took me 3 years because
Hey,
I didn't want to do it.
the
Yeah,
number of years never matters as long as you got the big F with it, you know.
yeah, yeah. But absolutely, I still have a pile of whips that I don't know if they'll ever get done because they're mostly things that I don't enjoy. So yeah,
You
they
know,
might just.
speaking of that, mostly things I don't enjoy. I have so many whips that, so I'm kind of torn between two worlds, where I want to start finishing projects. I want to be a person that finishes the things that I start. And
Yeah,
so there are two principles that are like combating each other. I want to enjoy the things that I make, and I want to be a finisher. But at the same
yeah,
time, so this year was the first year where I actually learned to, in order to finish what I've started and enjoy it,
mhm,
that there are things that are just done as they are.
yeah,
And I'm no longer letting that be like an unfinished project. It's unfortunately not the way it was intended, but like
mhm,
there are just things I'm not going to force myself to finish. So they're going to
mhm,
be either in a pile of unfinished stuff, or I just say they're done because
yeah,
they had their
yeah,
life, they had their
yeah,
opportunity, and they did,
yeah.
and they
And
didn't
I
get
look
it.
at
They didn't, you know what I mean? And so I
yeah,
just gave myself, and just like, there are no longer like uh, open projects. Now there are some that are things that I did enjoy that I just need to get myself back in,
yeah,
but there are a lot that aren't, that they're not even a part of the whip piles anymore because they are just finished piles because there's no life to it after.
yeah, exactly. And I look at it as the difference between giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm letting go. I'm
Yes,
letting
I'm
go
letting
of
go. I'm letting go.
I'm not
Exactly. Like
giving up and just letting it go.
yes,
And that's
it had its opportunity. Just like
yeah,
in speaking of Marie Kondo, like there's so many like cute outfits that I had that I was waiting to lose weight for to get into, and
yeah,
then at some point where I'm like, you know, I'm either gonna hang on to that and never get to it and keep berating myself for not getting into these clothes, or just let them go and let them
go.
be a
Yeah,
part of you know what I mean? Let them be a part of somebody else's enjoyment. And that's exactly what I did. I just donated everything, and it felt so great. And that's what I'm
yeah,
doing with these unfinished piles. Like, I'm just like, there are new projects that are going to be you know what I mean, made with these unfinished things. I'll just unravel them and start my next project, and they just become like a yarn pile, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
So do you have any tips for newbie makers?
Well, based on my experience, and I think I had a similar experience to you, it sounds like, when I first started, I would make anything and everything that someone asked of me. And I did find that I felt I couldn't say no. And so for newbie makers, whether you're going to turn into a business or not, even if you're just making for your own joy, to be able to say no. Like, it's okay to say no, and it doesn't have to be a hostile no, but it's okay to, just turn down things that you either don't want to do, or just don't excite you, or you feel maybe intimidate you right now and you're going to save that for later. But I felt like I could have used a lot more no in my earlier years as a maker, because I would just say yes to everything. And then it started to lose a bit of its fun and excitement. And once I started saying no, I felt better about what I was making, how I was spending my time. And it's also for creating time for your life too, right? To say no to certain things because maybe I need to spend time with my family, or I can't do that market, or I can't take on that project because it's going to take time away from my family, or something else that's important to me. So I think to be able to use your no to your advantage, that it's not a dirty word, that you can say no and still be very, kind about it, and people understand, right? That it's,
And you'll still prosper from it. You know what I mean? This is from somebody who's got, a very successful Etsy shop, and she's said no many times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's an awesome tip. I've never heard that as a tip, and I absolutely love that tip, and that's a very important tip. That's incredibly important. I just finished reading Michael Hyatt's Free to Focus, and it's an awesome book. If you guys, it's a way to basically how to Free to Focus is about how to streamline your life so that you're not to basically focus on the things that matter to you, and not, you know what I mean, not do all the other stuff, because we are busy to stay busy, to be busy, you know what I mean, for what? And it's a productivity book, it's a productivity book, and the first section is stop. Basically, he goes through a whole list of stop doing this, stop doing that, saying no to this, saying no to that, and he gives you practical tips on how to positively say no.
yes.
And Marie Forleo with Marie TV on YouTube is all about, you know what I mean? She tells you, she has a whole freebie on getting on the no train, because and he actually put a really good point, because I had just read this past week, and that's why it's so prevalent on my mind. Was he had put it in a concept where for every yes you are saying no, for every yes you are saying, you're saying no to something else, and for every no that you're saying yes to something else. So because time is fixed, you know what I mean, time is fixed. It's the only thing that's fixed. Money grows, everything expands. Time is fixed, and that you cannot get back. It is what it is. And so you have to fill it in with the things that matter to you, or fill it in with the things that matter to other people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's it. And she's like, and he was like saying, and he was talking about, like for every business meeting that he would take, like a business dinner that he would say yes to, he was saying no to a dinner with his wife.
Right. Yeah.
To the most important person in his life. So he's like, so do I, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that saying yes to the business dinner is a bad thing or a good thing, but know that every time you do, you're saying no to the dinner to the most important person in your life. So if you don't have your big reasons, you know what I mean, and your big whys and your big priorities, you let everybody else make it for you, So I absolutely love that tip.
Yeah, I look at it as being intentional with your yes. So when you say yes, be intentional about it. Like you said, considering if I'm saying yes to this, not that it's a bad thing, but what am I saying no to in the process? So being intentional.
Yes. There's always a flip. Yep.
Absolutely.
The other when I first started, because I didn't know anybody, and that's why I started that Dare to Be Original Facebook group. Once I started knowing a lot of makers in that group, like I know so many different makers, and I realized it became easier for me to say no because I knew people that loved making that thing
Yes,
that didn't excite me. Like the more and more people I knew online that were makers, the more and bigger maker community I exposed myself to. That's when I realized like there are so many other great, and then I would just refer them to those people
right.
those people like have joy making those things. I'm like, they would absolutely love working with you. Go,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And then it made in that aspect, it made it a lot easier for me to start saying no to everybody in with
Mhm.
regards to that, because I had people to refer them to.
Exactly. Yeah,
You
there's no
know?
shortage, right, of
No,
people
there's
that,
no shortage of makers. No, there's
yeah,
no
it's not
shortage
in
of
my
makers.
wheelhouse, but it's in somebody else's, and that's awesome.
Do you have any habits and rituals that you do daily?
Besides coffee,
Coffee's a lot of people's
I don't.
habits.
Yeah, coffee is definitely a ritual. It's very sacred. I don't know that I have any currently that I stick to every day, but I am trying to implement a gratitude practice every day. And I admit that some days I, I can't, I don't do it or I forget. But I do like to try and think of at the end of every day, you know, I call it like the 3 good things exercise, where you just think of 3 bright spots or 3 things that you're grateful for in that day, even if they're just small little things. They don't have to be big, monumental. But I just find it helps the focus, especially if it's been a bad day or not a great day, to shift your mindset to kind of find, and sometimes it's hard to do if it has been a bad day, but to find 3 little things. And I think just practicing gratitude in general is so good for mental health and overall emotional well-being, that I try to do that. So I'm really trying to challenge myself to do that daily. But again, sometimes I forget, or it's a busy day, or my head hits the pillow, I'm out. But it is something that I'm trying to implement as my daily ritual
That's
habit.
awesome. I love that. That gratitude is in my part of my ritual. I'm up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and that's one of the things that I do in there is write a gratitude.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because when I first started getting exposed to this, like years ago, you keep hearing about it, and they're like everybody in their morning rituals and writing a gratitude journal, and I'm always like, that's so hokey, you know what I mean? And I sit there and I'm like, come on, you know, and but as I've been practicing it, like steadily since February this year, so this year, I it's really been a game changer,
Yeah.
especially in your mental state, because we find what we seek in
Yeah.
life. That is just the principle law. That's fact. We find what we look for. When we look for something, we find it. Whatever we look for, if we're looking for negativity, we will find the negativity. If we're looking for the positive, we will find the positive, because that's just it's a principle. You know, we find what we look for. And when I started realizing that when we're counting our blessings, or you're like, you know, you could have the worst day, but if you sit there and you're thinking there are good things here, you know what I mean? Let's seek them out. There are good things. Let's seek 1 or 2 out, tiny or small, mundane as it is. You know what I mean? Even just the fact that you opened your eyes this morning,
Wow.
you know,
Yeah.
oh gosh, you know what I mean? Like there are a lot of people that don't get to open their eyes. You know
That's
what I
true.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
so those little gratitudes, like it really adds up. And when
It
you,
does.
it
Yeah.
changes your perspective. So the other thing is, I'm going to be a little quiet about it because the hubby's upstairs and he has no idea that I'm doing this.
Okay.
And this is how so well I is. It's so exposed. It's right there. It's right in the studio. There's no idea that this baby is in here. So this is a journal of that I write once a day, every day, one good thing that he's done.
Oh,
One good
okay.
thing that I appreciate. So they're not tiny. They're tiny. Some of them are grand. Some of them are little. Some of them are, you know what I mean? Some of them are you fill the water bowl for the dogs, you know what I mean? Some of them are you turn the light on for me because he knew I was going to be out late that day. Some, you know what I mean? Big
Mm,
things, small things, everything. So I just write one thing, and all I do is challenge myself to come up with one thing.
yeah.
I can't tell you how many days, and I knew this practice worked because there are days where, like, when we fight, and I know I got to report to that bad boy and
Yeah.
come up with something. So I'm either going to write about that fight, which who wants to immortalize anything that's negative, right?
Yeah.
Or I can come up with one good thing, and I always do, and it always shifts. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it makes the fight day go better. I'm not saying anything like that. But
Yeah.
I guarantee you that 3 days later, like, I'm not thinking about the fight. I couldn't remember. Like, I remember going back to the week. I'm like, I don't even remember when the fight happened, but I do remember that one act. Because when I go back and I read, I'm like, oh, that, you know what I mean? It gets reminded, and it changes your perspective. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just totally changes your thinking. So I was like, so for something that I've always heard for over and over again, it is not hokey. So I
No.
wish you luck on that habit, and I hope you make it a permanent ritual. And you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's definitely worth an investment in that.
Yeah, for sure. It changes your brain,
It
definitely.
does. It
So,
changes your brain. It absolutely changes your brain. But
yeah.
and I had, the thing is, I'm collecting it for the year, and I'm going to give it to him for Christmas. So we're in
Oh,
April,
wonderful.
and I run no risk at all of airing this and
Yeah.
him finding this out.
Yeah.
Because he always says, I'm like, honey, you never watch my stuff. He goes, you have so many things up. I
I'll
can't
just
keep
be the one
up.
that he starts with.
Yeah, he's always like, for begin and end. He's like, I can't keep up with you. So I know for a fact that I doubt he'll ever find this video somewhere and go, I know what I'm going to get for Chris.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's funny.
All right. So how do you invest in yourself?
So there's a few different ways. I think there's practical, tangible ways, but then also just emotional ways. So I think going back to the saying no piece, I do invest in myself by giving myself time or permission to rest or play or do nothing, because so much of the time as a maker you feel a little bit guilty if I'm not making something, right? Especially during busier season or that sort of thing. I feel guilty if I just sit and maybe I go take a bath or watch a movie with my husband. And so I invest in myself by, I think, giving myself permission that it's okay from time to time to do nothing, to not create or make, or to just rest and take time and that sort of thing. So that's one of the ways that I invest in myself. Self-care for me is a pretty big piece of it. So more tangible ways is I take care of my body as best I can. So I do massages and stuff like that just to treat my body well. Because I'm sure you know as a maker, sometimes when you're kind of in one position, the neck, the shoulders, everything gets tight. So it's nice every once in a while to invest that time and money in myself and take care of my body. But those are, I mean, I think those are the main things, just self-care related. Just making sure, checking in with myself, making sure that I'm okay. And if I'm not, trying to figure out what do I need to do to prioritize myself and take care of me first and foremost.
I love that. Boy, you're incredibly motivating, because I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. One of the things that I'm trying to make a habit and a ritual is to go back into my stretches and my daily stretches, because the one thing, the few things that I do a lot of hand exercises. I'm constantly stretching and changing, especially with our phones. So we're not only competing with making anymore, like and the knitting and the crocheting and the hooks. It's our phones, and everybody's gonna have thumb disorders by the time they're done in arthritis. And even if you're not a phone, but keyboards and type, you know what I mean? So my hands are I'm constantly doing hand exercises and stretches and different things, and being mindful of, you know what I mean? And necks and backs, and especially as you're getting older, I'm like, it's getting tough to sit and it's getting tough to stand. I'm like, what is that? We're not staying limber.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, I think the other day, I remember getting up and I think I said, ow, and my husband was like, what'd you do? I said, I stood up. how do we get to the age where we're injuring ourselves for standing up?
Yeah, it just hurts to do our regular movements.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think body self-care is extremely important.
Mhm.
Mandie, thank you so much for doing this with me. This has been awesome.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah.
you guys,
It was fun.
if you want to get in touch with her, her contacts and everything is below. Her show is in the show description below, and be sure to check out her Etsy shop and see what goodies she has there. And thank you so much again, and I'll see you guys next time. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video and leave a comment. I'm sure Mandie will check it out. And God bless, guys. Until next time. Thanks, Mandie.
Oh, thank you.
Bye-bye.